really curious if you were going to start this again tomorrow, if you were just going to do something new tomorrow, what would that process look like? Because I think it helps so many of our listeners to really, to have people like you to walk us through this that says, you know what, here are two or three really concrete steps that I would take tomorrow to kind of get the ball rolling and really step into this new life, so to speak.
Get myself out of the day-to-day function of the business as much as possible. So you mentioned it earlier, working on your business instead of in it. So start from the very beginning. Even if you are a beginner, even if you have $0, think along the terms of a CEO of the business and looking at how can I get myself out of the grind of it as soon as possible, even if that's hiring somebody overseas for 5, 6, 7, $8 an hour. How can I build systems and processes in place that I can move myself out of it and look at the bigger picture? Because you're capping yourself with how much money you can make when you're the only person in the business. Now, it takes a lot of courage because yeah, it's money, and who has money when they're starting off? I mean, like it's really really tricky. But even if you're not able to make that leap, if you could start thinking along those terms, and a really practical thing you can do is, let's say Heather, there's zero way that I could ever pull myself out of the production piece of this or the grind of it. Go ahead and build out a duplicatable system for what you're doing, for when you are ready, it's already there. Because a lot of times people bring someone else in and it takes too much time to train that person because, well, I've just been doing it this way for so long. I don't even know what I'm doing because I'm just doing it. Well, if you can think along the terms of like, what am I doing? Can I build out something that if somebody else comes in, I can literally hand them this spreadsheet, this folder, and they can do what I've been doing. I think that that faithfulness to detail would pay off long term because you're preparing the way for somebody else to come in. You know what I mean? You're kind of setting the table and setting that energy, setting that intention. I wish I would have started stuff like that sooner, thinking along those lines sooner. I wish I would have monetized better. I wish I would have set higher price points and valued my time a little bit more and not been so afraid. That's really, really tricky and hard because you don't want to come in and be like, I'm going to charge 5 grand and you suck and you need to figure things out. Like, there is a level of humility there, but also too, you can kind of get stuck in that where you think it's humility and it's really insecurity. And people, there are people who will pay you. And if you do a really good job, um, yeah, so own your worth. I mean, there's so many things I would do different, and I need to work on. I mean, we could sit here all day long and talk about that, but I think those are the things that come to mind off the bat.
I love this. Let me do just a really quick recap. And I just love the whole idea that, you mentioned kind of from day one, start thinking like a CEO.
Mm-hmm.
Like you think as the owner of your company, even if you are a company of one, as Paul Jarvis loves to
Absolutely.
say. And the idea of just, outsourcing as soon as possible, you know, kind of offload the things that you can offload, even if it's like you said, even if
Yeah.
it's, three, $5 an hour overseas, scale as soon as you can, build out a duplicatable system. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
love that whole idea, even from all these from day one, really prepare for your replacement, prepare for somebody to take over for you,
It
from the very
that goes
beginning.
back
And
to I have to give credit where credit's due. When I was in youth group, when I was a teenager, I remember I had this drama teacher, and I remember him looking at me and he said, "Leaders work themselves out of a job.
mm,
Always
yeah,
think that way." And I took that to heart. I mean, like, I still think about that in business, even though he was telling me about the drama team. But it's so true. Like, if we go into it with that mindset of like, I'm only here until somebody's comes in to replace me, I'm
that
going
is
to the
that is
next thing.
so true. And the very last point that I think you touched on there was kind of, don't be afraid to put a true value on your service.
Yeah.
Value what you provide. Let's camp out just a little bit on that, because I think that is such a crucial point
Yeah.
for us to discuss. So how do you get past that? Because that is such a sticking point for so many people.
Well, first of all, no, it's a sticky point for everybody. So the indication of fear and insecurity around that is not a hint that you are on the wrong path. It just is a hint that you're a human and that we all deal with that. Kind of a trick that I've used and I really advise people starting off is I say do a tier. So let me, for the sake of argument, let me say you're a freelance photographer. Um, there is truth that you need to gain expertise before you start charging a really good amount. But the way that you kind of can guard against that is say, okay, my first three shoots are going to be this really cheap price. And you hold yourself to that. The next three, five shoots are going to be this price. And you slowly put a cap on every bit that you're going to do for that price point until you work your way up to the point that you want to be. So you are learning, you are growing, but you're also forcing yourself to say, you know what? I'm sorry, I did three shoots at that price point. It's time for me to level up. If you're busy, if you are getting people, like you're constantly getting clients in the door, it is always time to go up, period.